Welcome to Dragon Tales, where dragons soar, swords clash, and secrets burn beneath the Iron Throne. If you're obsessed with Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and all the hidden lore of Westeros, then you're in the right place. Hit subscribe and ring that bell icon to join our growing brotherhood of fans, because in this channel, the watch never ends. In the A Song of Ice and Fire novels, no such battle has taken place yet. The fifth and most recent novel, A Dance with Dragons, ends with Stannis still marching against Winterfell and Jon's death. Given that Season 6 Onward is based on an outline of what will happen in future novels, the battle, or a different version of it, rather, may serve as the climax of the Winds of Winter. The Battle of the Bastards was a major battle late in the War of the Five Kings, fought as part of the northern theater of the conflict in 303 AC. It saw a Stark-Arryn-Free Folk coalition force, led by Jon Snow and Sansa Stark, engage Lord Ramsay Bolton, Warden of the North, and his allied vassal houses for control of Winterfell. The battle resulted in House Stark being restored to its status as the ruling House of the North, whilst marking the end of House Bolton. This battle's conclusion marks the end of the northern theater of the War of the Five Kings. Following the death of King Robb Stark and most of his bannermen at the Red Wedding, the Iron Throne named House Bolton the new ruling Great House of the North. However, to cement their hold on the North following the murders of King Joffrey Baratheon and his hand, Lord Tywin Lannister, the Boltons decided to betray the Lannisters. To that end, they secured a marriage alliance through Lord Peter Baelish between Sansa Stark, formerly the Lannisters' hostage, with Ramsay Bolton, Lord Roose Bolton's recently legitimized bastard son. With help from the Boltons' prisoner, Theon Greyjoy, Sansa escaped her home during Stannis Baratheon's ill-fated attack on Winterfell and fled to Castle Black with Brienne of Tarth and Podrick Payne. There, she reunited with her half-brother, Jon Snow, who was on the verge of leaving the Night's Watch following his death and resurrection. With Sansa's escape and her refuge with Jon at Castle Black, and the birth of a son to Roose Bolton and his new wife, Valda Bolton, Ramsay's position as Roose's heir was now shrouded in uncertainty. In a bid to secure his position, Ramsay murdered his father and orchestrated the brutal deaths of his stepmother and newborn half-brother by feeding them to his hounds. The ruthless act propelled Ramsay into the position as the new head of House Bolton, Lord of the Dreadfort, Lord of Winterfell, and Warden of the North. Sansa implored Jon to help her take back Winterfell from the Boltons. Although Jon was initially hesitant due to his weariness from fighting, he eventually agreed after receiving a letter from Ramsay. In the letter, Ramsay denounced Jon as a traitor for allowing the wildlings to cross the wall. Furthermore, Ramsay revealed that he was holding Jon and Sansa's younger brother, Rickon, hostage and demanded Sansa's return, warning that he would slaughter Jon, Rickon, and the wildlings before having Sansa gang-raped if he refused. Jon and Sansa resolved to march south to confront the Boltons in order to save their younger brother and retake Winterfell. With the Karstarks and Umbers having declared for Ramsay due to their anger toward Robb and Jon, respectively, Jon and Sansa are forced to rely on the support of the meager forces of the minor northern houses to aid them. They managed to persuade the Free Folk, House Mason, House Hornwood, and House Mormont to join them. However, Lord Robert Glover, head of House Glover, refuses to declare for them, citing both his hatred for the wildlings and his anger at Robb for failing to protect them from Balon Greyjoy's invasion. Similarly, House Manderly also declines to support the Starks, with Lord Wyman Manderly refusing to have more Manderlys die for a cause he believed was lost. Sansa sends Brienne to the Riverlands to treat with her great-uncle, Brynden Tully, who is under siege at Riverrun. Unfortunately, Brynden refuses to leave his home and is later killed when the castle falls to House Frey and House Lannister. Brienne and Podrick, however, are able to escape riverruns fall through the river. Despite gathering a number of allies, the coalition force is still heavily outnumbered by the Boltons. Jon is adamant that they attack Winterfell as soon as possible to prevent Ramsay from gathering more men, or to avoid the weather turning against them, like it did for Stannis Baratheon. Sansa argues they still need more men, and wants to try to recruit more houses. When Jon argues that they are out of time and must strike now, Sansa secretly writes a letter to Littlefinger calling for help. On the day before the battle, the Stark leadership agrees to parley with the Boltons. Ramsay immediately offers terms for Jon's surrender. Return Sansa to him, bend the knee and acknowledge Ramsay as the Lord of Winterfell and Warden of the North. In exchange, Ramsay claims he will not harm his men, and Jon will be pardoned for deserting his post as Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Jon rejects the terms, knowing that Ramsay has broken his own surrender terms multiple times in the past, and instead opts for a different solution to save both the armies: single combat to determine the fate of the North. Ramsay rejects Jon's terms in turn, as he has heard of Jon's reputation as the best swordsman in the North, and he knows his army is more numerous and better equipped than Jon's. Jon retorts by pointing out that Ramsay's army is built on shaky loyalty, whereas his own know that their leader would live and die for them. This angers Ramsay and prompts him to threaten to kill Rickon if Jon will not surrender. It is at this moment Sansa questions whether Ramsay really has their brother. Small Jon Umber answers by pulling out Shaggy Dog's severed head and throwing it at their feet. When Ramsay starts to speak again, Sansa confidently tells him that he is going to die when they meet on the battlefield the next day, and to sleep well. At the Stark camp, plans are drawn up for the coming battle. Knowing that Ramsay's numbers are superior, and Tormund not wanting to be annihilated by mounted soldiers, as when Stannis and Davos defeated the Wildings, they will instead bait him into a double envelopment, using his recklessness and anger against him. After Davos, Tormund, and the rest of the lords are dismissed for the evening, Sansa approaches Jon, rebuking him for not consulting her. She goes on to tell Jon he doesn't know how Ramsay's mind works, and that he likes toying with people. The two proceed to argue, with Sansa stating to Jon they need more men, and should wait to attack with a larger force. Jon replies that he believes they have already recruited all the men who will fight for them. He goes on to tell Sansa that he vows to protect her. However, Sansa, jaded by years of failures and disappointments, replies that no one can protect her or anyone now. Meanwhile, Davos and Tormund take a walk out into the camp, comparing their experiences serving Stannis and Mance respectively, and the ultimate futility of believing in kings. After some banter, Davos walks up the hill to where he sees a funeral pyre, spotting and picking up the toy stag he gave to Shireen before Stannis' ill-fated attack on the Boltons. He comes to the conclusion that Melisandre must have sacrificed Shireen to the Lord of Light. Melisandre is in her tent when Jon approaches her. Jon requests for her not to resurrect him again, should he fall in battle tomorrow. When she refuses, Jon orders her instead as commander of the coalition force, only for Melisandre to respond that she serves the Lord of Light and not Jon. She goes on to say that Jon was resurrected for a reason, as she would not be able to do so otherwise. What that reason is, and what role Jon is to play in her lord's plan, Melisandre states she is unsure. The battle begins with the Stark army deployed near a treeline to prevent themselves from being attacked unaware from behind. Across the field is the much larger Bolton army, which has placed archery distance markers with burning, flayed corpses attached to them to demoralize the Stark troops. Ramsay trots out on his horse to the front of the formation, bringing a prisoner, Rickon Stark himself. Ramsay acts at first as if he will slit Rickon's throat, but instead cuts his bonds and sadistically insists that they play a game. He points at Jon and tells Rickon, "Run to your brother." Rickon starts running straight toward Jon, while Ramsay shoots and purposely misses with a war bow. Just when Rickon is about to reach Jon, however, Ramsay's final deliberate shot hits Rickon through the heart, killing him almost instantly.